Today we will discuss the most interesting and one of the best known characters in The Merchant of Venice, and he is Shylock. Shylock is one of the best known characters in the entire range of Shakespearean drama. Now, as we have seen in the play, he is also a controversial character. But what we note is, in spite of his villainy, he deserves our sympathy also. He certainly has some hateful traits of character, and he also deserves to be called a villain, but we still feel at the end of the play that he should gain some sympathy from the audience. So let us analyze his character. Now we see that by profession Shylock is a money lender. However, he is a money lender who tries to enrich himself and to accumulate wealth. In what way? By exploiting the financial needs of others. Now, one reason why he hates Antonio is that Antonio lends money to needy persons without charging any interest at all. And Antonio thus brings down the rate of interest in Venice. Now, Shylock has already hoarded a lot of wealth by his usury, but his craving for more money is not satisfied. This makes him a contemptible person in the play. In this respect, he is a typical Jew because the Jews have traditionally been regarded as usurers. It is only in our own times that the Jews have been able to shed that image. Today, of course, the Jews are regarded as a versatile race of people possessing many gifts and tolerance. Now, we also will see his intolerance of the Christians and his extreme miserliness. Miserliness बोलते हैं कंजूस, right? Now, Shylock repels us also by his religious intolerance. He hates Christians, as we see in the whole drama, and he hates them fiercely. At one point in the play, he says in an aside that he hates Antonio firstly because Antonio is a Christian, and secondly because Antonio brings down the rate of interest in Venice by lending money gratis. Gratis means without any interest. As a Jew, Shylock does not eat pork, and he would not therefore like to join the Christians at a dinner where pork is to be served as one of the dishes. You remember he had been invited for dinner by Antonio and Bassanio earlier, but he refuses. This much we can understand and accept. Everybody has a right not to eat a certain kind of meat, and also a right not to eat meat altogether. And everybody has even the right not to attend a dinner where meat is to be served. But nobody should hate others because they eat meat or a particular kind of meat. In this respect, and as in all other respects, tolerance is the right attitude to adopt. But Shylock makes pork eating one of the grounds for his hatred of Christians who are pork eaters. And in one of his speeches, he refers to the biblical story of the manner in which Christ had lured the devil to enter into the body of a pig. However, this is a very minor issue in the play. Eventually, Shylock does agree to attend a Christian dinner, and his reason for attending it further lowers him in our estimation. He would like to eat at the expense of the Christians who are extravagant and extravagant बोलते हैं फिजूल खर्च and who spend money needlessly. By eating a meal at the expense of the Christians, he can save a little money at home. And this is the height of miserliness and meanness. The Jews are traditionally regarded as misers, though such is no longer the case in today's times. Lancelot Gobbo refers to Shylock's miserliness when he says that in the Jews' service he is famished. Famished means starving, भूखे मरना, भरपेट खाना नहीं मिलना. And yet Shylock says to Lancelot that the latter would not enjoy those facilities in Bassanio's service which he is enjoying here in the Jew's house. Now we feel really amused to find that although Shylock is a big miser himself, he thinks himself to be very generous. Further, we also see that Shylock is a very deceitful and crafty man. धोखेबाज, deceitful. Crafty means एक बहुत ही धूर्त व्यक्ति है. At first, he expresses his unwillingness to give a loan to Antonio on the ground that Antonio had been ill-treating him. However, an altogether different idea takes shape in his mind. He then agrees to give the loan, but he lays down the condition that the bond to be signed should contain a clause according to which if he would become entitled to cut off a pound of Antonio's flesh from nearest his heart, if Antonio fails to repay the loan within a period of 3 months. It is thus that he lures Antonio into signing the bond, saying at the same time that this clause is intended only as a joke because a pound of human flesh can serve no purpose at all, and because even the flesh of animals like goats and sheep has greater value than human flesh. In other words, Shylock employs cunning in order to get the bond signed. Now he treats the bond as a weapon which he might be able to use in case Antonio, by some mischance, is penniless and finds it impossible to repay the loan. In this respect, then, Shylock shows considerable shrewdness and even a capacity to foresee the future. In this matter of the bond and the discussion which takes place between him and the Christians, that is Bassanio and Antonio, several facets of Shylock's personality become evident to us. He here shows himself as a cunning, I told you cunning मतलब धूर्त, hypocritical मतलब पाखंडी, दिखावा करने वाला, झूठा, humble as well as arrogant man. He even cites a biblical incident to justify the charging of interest, though he admits that this incident is not exactly an example but only a parallel to prove the validity of charging some kind of fee for the services which one renders to others. Renders means provide. In any case, the whole scene in which the transaction takes place reveals Shylock's character in an unfavorable light. Here he appears as a detestable person, deserving our dislike and hatred. We see his revengeful and bloodthirsty nature. From the very start, he is shown as planning to take his revenge upon Antonio for the latter's ill treatment of him. Antonio's need for a loan serves him as a great opportunity to wreak his vengeance upon him. Subsequently, no appeals from the Duke and the magnificence moves him to pity. Even Portia's eloquent plea for mercy fails to have any effect upon him. He feels jubilant when it seems that the verdict of the court would go in his favor, and he begins to exult over Portia's pronouncement in the beginning that he has a very strong case. He bluntly tells the judge that there is no power in the tongue of man to alter his resolve to take a pound of flesh. My deeds upon my head, he says. He simply invokes the law which entitles him to the penalty and the forfeit of his bond, and he clings to the position he has taken up. Another thing or another characteristic of Shakespeare that is noteworthy is his suspicious nature. Shylock has a suspicious nature and does not trust anyone. He cannot trust either his servant or his daughter. Although his suspicious nature is no merit in himself, yet he must admit that he is fully justified in his suspicions. His servant detests him, and so does his daughter. While the servant merely leaves his service, his daughter goes to the extent of running away from home with a Christian and stealing a considerable amount of his money and his jewels. But what is striking is some redeeming qualities of Shylock. Even though Shylock is a villain, he does have a couple of redeeming qualities. What are they? He is a champion of his race. He speaks eloquently and convincingly about the injustice which the Jews have already suffered at the hands of the Christians. He offers a forceful plea on behalf of the Jews in the speech when he says, "Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions?" Then there is his sentiment for his dead wife. On learning that his daughter had given away a particular jewel in exchange for a monkey, he says that this jewel had been given to him by Lee when he was still a bachelor. And he goes on to say, "I would not have given it." It means the jewel, for a wilderness of monkeys. Besides, his character is distinguished by an intellectual force and vigor which are praiseworthy. It is in view of these good qualities in him that he wins our sympathy, and he is cruelly treated at the end. At the same time, we must not forget that he is essentially an evil man full of spite. Spite means hatred, and malice. Malice means ill feeling towards somebody, against the Christians, and more particularly against his enemy Antonio. And of course, there is a comic side to him also. He appears as a monster when he begins to sharpen his knife in order to cut off a pound of flesh from Antonio's body. He would use this flesh as bait to catch fish if he cannot make any other use of it. And he appears as a comic character when he cries simultaneously, "Oh my ducats, oh my daughter, oh my Christian ducats." Thus we see that Shylock becomes a pathetic figure at the end when he walks out of the court. He is a ruined man and a fanatical Jew who must now turn a Christian.